What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today I'm going to talk about the New York Metropolitans as they win another weekend set, this time out in West Sacramento against the A's. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! The wall, he jumps, it's gone! He did it! He did it! Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career!
All right, getting into the episode, and I'm going to start with Juan Soto because Juan Soto this year has not played to his full potential. Yes, he's played well, but he hasn't played his Juan Soto baseball. He's drawn his walks, he's played solid right field, but he hasn't really swung the bat as well as we know he can. Like, there's another level to Juan Soto that I expect to see in the next coming weeks. And when that happens, I think the Mets are 10-4 right now. He will win the Mets ball games. That's what Juan Soto does. He hasn't done it yet, but he will do it soon. It's coming. Francisco Lindor, he's hitting around 240 right now. He's not playing the MVP baseball we saw last year. The Mets haven't fully started clicking. They're not firing on all cylinders yet. And I'm okay with that. It's April 12th, 13th. Like, it's not October. We're gearing up for a playoff run right now. It's April. The Mets are winning games, though. The Mets are pitching incredibly well. The Mets are hitting at a level that will win them ball games. And they're playing solid defense. I mean, they had a little bit of trouble in the first 2 or 3 series with errors. Clay Holmes, they don't know how to play defense for, like, flat out. I think he has unearned runs in every single one of his starts. I know he had him in the first 2. I don't know if he had him in the 3rd. They just don't like to play defense when he's on the mound. But it's been better over the last 2 series. The last series against Miami and the A series, I don't think they made an error. Maybe they did in the second Marlins series. But they played good enough defense, I thought, to win games. It'll get cleaned up as the season goes along. But for right now, I'm okay where the Mets are from an offensive standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, and especially from a pitching standpoint. Like, this is some of the best Mets pitching that I've seen in a long time. Like, I know it's only April 13th, but the Mets have been dominant on the mound. I mean, they won again today. In the final game of the A series, they won 8-0. Kodai Senga, the first Mets pitcher to throw a pitch in the 7th inning. And the Mets, another shutout for him. I mean, Huascar Brazoban. How good has Huascar Brazoban been? I mean, that was a guy that we traded for at the deadline last year. We didn't trade much for him. Maybe he'll get us a couple outs here. Maybe he'll give us a big performance here in a game in September when we need it. But he didn't do it. He struggled a lot last year. Huascar Brazoban did not have it last year. And Mendoza realized that, and Mendoza didn't use him all too much. But this year, Mendy said, oh, why not? Let's give him another try. And he's proved himself. Let's see, he didn't pitch today. I don't know if he pitched at all in the A series. And I know he gave up his first run of the year against the Marlins. It was a Derek Hill homer. But it was only 1 run. And it's perfect. That's what the Mets needed. That lengthens their bullpen so much. The bullpen is already deep with Minter and Stanek and Reed Garrett. All these guys in the Mets bullpen. And I'll get to Edwin Diaz because I'm having a little conundrum about Edwin Diaz. I don't want to go away from Diaz, but if what he's doing continues, the Mets might have no choice. Because right now, I'm looking at Edwin Diaz's stats right now. Diaz in 6 games, 5.2 innings pitched. He's got a 7.04 ERA, a 1.76 whip, a negative 0.4 WAR, 11.1 Ks per 9. You always know Diaz's strikeouts per 9 are going to be high because of his strikeout stuff. 4 walks, 1 homer, 5 earned runs, and 3 saves. Because that's the thing. He's gotten out of almost every situation he's put the Mets in. Like, I know he came in to the final game of the Marlins series. Yeah, it was the final game. The Mets were down 2-0. It was the top of the 9th. Diaz looking to give the Mets a chance, hold the Marlins, and then let the bats get in there and try to get something started, trying to get some semblance of offense going in the bottom half of the frame, and he couldn't do it. He gave up 3 runs, and he really took the Mets out of the game. So there's appearances like that for Diaz. But then he also comes in the opener of the A series, and that's changing time zone. It's going all the way from the East time zone all the way to the West in one night. I get that. It's a new ballpark that he's never pitched in, most likely, unless he pitched in the minors. But that would have been a long time ago. And first time he's pitched in that ballpark against major league hitters, there's going to be some difference, some issues there. But in that game, the first game of the A series, he was looking to come in and get a save. I think it was 7-4 New York when he entered the game. So it's 3-run save opportunity. In 1 inning, he allows 2 runs on 2 walks and 2 hits. Both of the runs were earned. So that's 2 appearances in a row for Diaz where he was very subpar. He couldn't get batters out. He hasn't pitched since then. Those are 2 bad appearances in a row for Diaz. And it's April. So I'm going to continue to stick with Diaz until probably June. I'll give him till June 15th. I'll give him 2 months to get right. But if he can't get right, the Mets have the guys to go closer by committee. They have the depth. They have the talent, whether it's Stanek or it's Garrett. Those are the 2 guys in my mind. Stanek hasn't pitched too much this year, but when he does, he has a 0.00 ERA. He, quite frankly, has not allowed a run and 4.1 innings of work. I think he's my favorite Mets bullpen piece. I just love his flair, his energy, his high heat. And so that's your righty. AJ Minter has not really done it for me yet. He's got a 2.84 ERA. From the left side, they don't have a ton of guys. They have AJ Minter, obviously. They have Danny Young, who also has not done it for me. He has struggled a lot. I'm looking now. They don't really have a lot of left-handed relievers. Jose Buto's a righty. They only have AJ Minter and Danny Young that are southpaws. So if you're going to look at it from that standpoint, you really only have righties. You have Sean Reed Foley, who's on the mend. I believe he's a lefty. I can't remember if Daniel Nunez, who is also should be returning soon, is a lefty or righty. I want to say he's a righty, though. He's a guy I'm very interested to see what he has this year because he did give the Mets a lot last year when he was healthy. The problem was he couldn't stay healthy for too long. He was dominant when he was healthy last year. The problem is he was injured for the majority of the season, and he missed all of the postseason with what I believe to be a shoulder injury. All right, that's all. That's enough for the pitching, for the bullpen at least. I'm going to talk about the starting rotation now. I have loved what I've seen out of the starting rotation besides one thing. They haven't been able to go far enough into games. Like I mentioned earlier, Kodai Senga was the first Mets pitcher to go 7 innings in a game. That was today he did that. The Mets need to do that. I know the Mets have a ton of bullpen depth, but it's not sustainable. I know they were talking about it on the SNY broadcast. I don't remember what the exact number was, but I think it was either 64 or 46% of the innings that the bullpen is on pace to throw this year. I want to say it was 46. That's the percentage of innings that are going to be played this year that the Mets bullpen is in for rather than the starters. That's just not sustainable. I don't have anything to compare it to, but Ron Darling was pretty adamant about it being it's not that it can't last like that. The Mets won't be successful and their bullpen will be depleted for the majority of the season if this continues. However, if the bullpen is so good right now, why not lean on them early in the year? And then once that graph starts to balance out, once they start to hit a downward spiral once they start losing control, losing you games, because it will happen. The bullpen's not going to be perfect throughout the whole year. Then you start asking your starters to go 7 innings more. And then you have to stretch David Peterson to a 6 1/3 inning start, 6 2/3, rather than him throwing 6 innings. But right now, it's fine. I know it's only April, but you got to do what you got to do to win games. These games all matter the same. And I mean, I would rather be winning right now than having to make it up in June and July and August and September and having to win at a ridiculous pace like they did last year. Because last year, that's not going to be replicated. They cannot go under 500 like they did last year and expect to be successful. So you have to do what you have to do right now to win games and to continue to be successful. I mean, they're 10-4 right now. 10-5 rather. They're first in the NL East. And things are looking up for the Mets. And I'm going to get back to Juan Soto for a little bit. And not directly Juan Soto, but Juan Soto's protection. That was the biggest question mark coming into this season for the Mets. Who is going to be protecting Juan Soto? We know the top of that lineup with Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto is going to be deadly. That's going to be one of the best 1-2 punchers in the entire major leagues. But what comes behind him? They could just walk Juan Soto to get to Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso had a down year last year. Maybe that happens again for Pete, and teams can get away with not pitching to Soto. Maybe Vientos won't be able to replicate what he did last year, and he hasn't been able to so far. He is in a bad skid to start this year. Maybe Brandon Nimmo, who's now hitting 4th and 5th on some occasions. What's he going to be able to do? Well, for one thing, Pete Alonso is absolutely locked in right now. Pete Alonso, through the first 15 games of the season, is hitting 321 with a 431 OBP and a 660 slugging and a 1091 OPS. He leads the Mets in WAR with 1 already. He's got 18 RBIs. He's got, let's see, how many homers does he have? He hasn't hit the ball. He's got 4 homers. I think it's tied for the club lead with Brandon Nimmo. He is leading the entire National League in RBIs with that 18. And he's in one of those stretches where every time he's up, you think it's going to a good outcome is going to ensue. You know when Pete Alonso is up there that it's going to be a very competitive at-bat, and he has a really good chance of getting on. Like, this is what Pete Alonso was missing last year. I know I put a clip out on social media of me saying that Pete Alonso needs to increase his average and his OBP this year. That's going to make him so more deadly and make this Mets lineup so more deadly. And through the first 15 games, that is exactly what Pete Alonso has done. He's continued his power numbers while also getting on base more. He's hitting doubles. He's spraying the ball into the gaps. This is what we need to see out of Pete Alonso for the entire year. Yes, he's going to hit slumps. Yes, he's not going to hit 320-21 for the entire year. That's just not realistic for Pete Alonso. But if he can hover around 285 to 305, if he could be somewhere in that range for the majority of this season, 305 is really high for Pete Alonso. But if he can get to that mark, I would be overjoyed. The problem is he's going to be gone next year. He's going to opt out and be looking for a massive contract that I don't know if the Mets are going to be willing to give him. Because they do have guys like Ryan Clifford on the farm that is a first baseman prospect and that has shown promise in the minor leagues. So it's sort of a catch-22 when you look at it, because Pete, while you want to win this year, while you want to be as successful as possible, while you want to win as many games, while you want to win the World Series this year, you love that out of Pete Alonso. But would you rather Pete, I don't know if the word is fall off, but if he doesn't play as well this year, if he does hit 275, 280 for the remainder of the season, it would still be a good season for Pete. If he still hits his 35, 40 home runs, still has a good year. But it's not good enough to the point where he's getting a contract that's going to be worth $320 million. I think that's the number I'm looking at with Pete Alonso. Maybe he could get it up to 350, 375. And if he does continue this, David Stearns, you have to do everything you can to re-sign this man. Pete Alonso has been nothing but good for your franchise. Yeah, he's had some down years, but he's always been a positive look for the franchise. I don't think there's ever been any times where he's made bad decisions. He's made headlines for the wrong reasons. Pete Alonso has always been a good player. He's always been a grade A person. He's been a good representation, a good face of your franchise since 2018 at this point. So he's someone I would really just love to bring back. He leads the team in average among qualified hitters. Like, Torrens leads the team overall, and that's what I'm going to talk to next, because Luis Torrens is going to make us have some uncomfortable conversations when Francisco Alvarez returns. On the season, Torrens is hitting .333 with a .942 OPS. He is one of 6 catchers across the entire MLB with an OPS over 900, a minimum of 30 plate appearances. So you don't have to be necessarily qualified, but you do have to have a good chunk of at-bats. He's got 30 on the dot. Hayden Senger made a couple starts earlier this week just because Torrens was dealing with some kind of illness. I'm okay with it. Senger held his own in the stretch. He hit .250. It's all right. I'm not expecting much out of Hayden Senger. That's fine. I'm okay with it. He held his own. I think the pitchers were fine with him. But Luis Torrens has been a machine to start this year. He is really stepped up to the challenge. We knew we were going to be missing Francisco Alvarez for about a month. Alvarez is close to returning, or at least getting close, as he started a rehab assignment in Port St. Lucie earlier this week. When Alvy comes back, if Torrens is still hitting like this, and he's a really good defensive catcher, I'm not going to say that he should be starting over Alvarez, but in the first couple weeks when Alvarez returns, I think there's got to be Alvarez already isn't going to be able to play every day. He's going to have to miss at least 2 or 3 games a week. That's just not realistic after having surgery just about a month ago. He's going to return about a month and a half after having surgery. It's not realistic for him to be playing every day. So Torrens is going to get a good amount of run. But when they're going kind of swapping out because of Alvy's injury stuff, I think Mendy's got to be observing. And Mendy's got to be seeing, maybe we do go 1A, 1B, where these guys are sort of splitting time. I would not be opposed to that in the slightest. Only if Torrens continues this level of production, though. And same with Alvarez. Because then if one guy starts taking the lead and the other falls into a slump, you're like, okay, I'm going to favor Torrens this week. Or, okay, I'm going to favor Alvarez this week. He's on a tear right now. He's hitting the cover off the baseball. He's driving in runs. The pitchers love him. I mean, we talked about Jose Quintana last year, where I know Quintana's not a part of the team anymore, but Quintana, it was either Quintana used to sleep in Alvarez's guest house over the winter, or Alvarez used to sleep in Quintana's guest house over the winter. It was one of the two, but we talked about that connection where Alvarez is like this with the pitchers. Like they are locked in. They are all on the same page all the time. But right now, Alvarez hasn't played, and the pitching has looked pretty good to me. So I don't know if Alvarez is the end-all be-all right now. And then I'm not too sure Starling Marte is going to stay healthy this whole season. I'm not sure how Mark Vientos is going to be viewed this whole season. Maybe he's going to get some run at DH. Maybe Brett Beatty will get some run at third. Just based on the hitting stuff, I think you got to look at giving Vientos some half days off. Maybe just let him focus on his hitting. Let him DH for a couple days. Let him hit out of this slump. Where it's like in basketball, where they say shooters got to shoot out of the slump. Let Mark Vientos put all his time into hitting. Let him hit his way out of this slump. That's the only thing he's got to worry about. Unless it gets to a point where he's too worried about his hitting, and that's all he's thinking about, and he needs to feel to take his mind off of it. But I wouldn't be opposed to giving Brett Beatty some run at third just for a couple days, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's early in the year. The team is locked in right now. They're hitting really well. They're playing really well. They're winning a lot of games, and they're finding ways to win. That's the other thing. They find ways to win on days where the pitching isn't the greatest. The middle game against Miami, the pitchers allowed 5 runs. The offense outbursted for 10 runs. Like, that's the thing. They found ways to win. So maybe you do let Vientos DH for a couple days and then let Beatty play third. But how I'm relating this to Alvarez, maybe you let Alvy DH for a couple days and give Vientos a day off, Marte a day off as Marte's starting to age. Jesse Winker's dealt with an illness to start this year, shouldn't have a lasting effect on him. But if Winker goes down, you could give those guys a day off, let Alvarez DH. You could give whoever you want a day off by letting Alvy DH. So that's the thing. I think we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations when Francisco Alvarez does make a return. And getting to the second base competition right now, I'm done with Brett Baty. I've seen enough with him. His hitting isn't good. He's not necessarily the greatest fielder. And Luis Angel Acuna, in the second game against the Athletics, that because they don't have a city associated to them. Now I was gonna say Sacramento, I was gonna say Oakland, but it's just the A's. In the second game in that series, he worked a 9-pitch walk. He had 2 base hits. What has Brett Baty done? That was the first game. Sorry, I'm getting the games confused now. The first game of the series, it was the 10 o'clock start. Luis Angel Acuna performed. He got hits, he worked walks, and that's not the first time he's worked an extended at-bat walk this year. He did it on opening day against Josh Hader, who's not an easy pitcher to do that against. He worked in, I think it might have been a 12-pitch walk that day. I think that seems like a little bit of an outrageous number. So don't quote me on that, but it was either 8 or 12. He worked a walk where it was a high number of pitches. That's the point. He's a better defender. He's more athletic. He's got more speed. I'm staying with Acuna. I'm done with Brett Baty. He's had so many chances at the major league level, and he hasn't proved himself once. He hasn't. And Acuna, he might not be hitting the best right now. He's hitting only .214 on the season, but Brett Baty is hitting .139. 139. That's not going to work. I know they wanted to have it a little bit of an open competition to start this year. Competition closed. Acuna has won. That, plain and simple. Acuna wins every time. And then the last competition, and not competition, but platoon I want to talk about is Jesse Winker and Starling Marte. I would like to see more Jesse Winker. I mean, he's only hitting 200 on the season, but Marte's hitting 192. So the average it's pretty close. And I guess the Mets, Jesse had that illness. I didn't realize he had an illness until Cohen said it in the second, I forget if it was the first or second game of the A series where he did make an appearance. But I just want to see more Jesse Winker. I don't care. Maybe you do hit him lefty for a day. I just want to see Jesse Winker play baseball because I know the energy, the spark, the fire that he plays with, and I know that he has the ability to win the Mets baseball games. I saw it last year. I saw his triple against Miami. That's a perfect example of it. In the second game of that series, the Mets had no offense. Jesse Winker laced a triple to the right field corner. He laced it off the wall. He smacked that ball. He's motoring around the bases. Yeah, Jesse Winker in that game, he had 2 triples against Miami, and then Francisco Lindor walked it all with a sac fly. So I love Jesse Winker. Maybe I'm fanboying. Maybe I'm saying something unrealistic because he wasn't healthy, but I would like to see a little bit more Jesse Winker. All right, that's going to do it for the episode. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, following, commenting, sharing, liking. I really appreciate it. Also, make sure you go check out all my socials, linked in the description below, and leave me a voicemail with your sports questions and takes at 848-305-8073. That's 848-305-8073. And last but not least, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.